The knife pressed cold against her throat, but Zoe Okapo didn't scream. She stared into the eyes of the man who held her captive, not her kidnapper, but the one who just killed him. Blood splattered his white shirt. His hand trembled as he lowered the blade. Something shifted in his dark eyes, something dangerous, something that would change everything. He whispered her name like a prayer he'd been waiting his whole life to say. Welcome to Afrokorean romance, where love has no borders. If you believe in love, please like, share, and subscribe for more Afrokorean romance stories. Zoe had come to Seoul 3 months ago with nothing but a suitcase and a degree in international business. She'd heard the streets were safe, the opportunities endless. She hadn't expected to witness a murder on Valentine's Day. The club had been packed, music pounding through her chest as she made her way toward the restroom. She turned down a dark hallway by mistake. That's when she saw him, a man in an expensive suit, gun pressed to another man's head. Their eyes met. Everything stopped. Before she could run, hands grabbed her from behind. A cloth covered her mouth. Darkness swallowed her whole. She woke in a warehouse, wrists bound to a chair. 3 men argued in Korean around her. She caught fragments: witness, problem, dispose. The metal door burst open. He walked in like death itself, surrounded by 6 men in black. The room went silent. Even her captors looked terrified. Who touched her? His voice was quiet, deadly. When no one answered, he pulled out a gun and shot the ceiling. Zoe flinched. One of her captors pointed at another. Within seconds, the man was on the floor, begging. He didn't beg long. That's when he'd approached her, cut her bindings, pressed that knife to her throat, not to hurt her, but because his hands were shaking too much to be gentle. His thumb had brushed her jaw. His breath had caught. You saw nothing, he'd whispered in perfect English. Understand. She'd nodded. Say it. I saw nothing. Something in his expression shifted, softened. He stepped back like she'd burned him. Take her home, he ordered his men. Make sure she's safe. No one touches her. No one even looks at her wrong. The next morning, Zoe found a black card on her doorstep with a single line. I'm sorry you were frightened. See. She should have thrown it away. She should have gone to the police. Instead, she tucked it into her wallet and tried to forget those dark eyes. 2 days later, flowers arrived. No note, just white roses, dozens of them. A week after that, she noticed the same black car parked outside her apartment building every evening. The driver never approached, never spoke, just watched. She should have been terrified, she was, but something else stirred beneath the fear. Curiosity, fascination, the memory of his voice saying her name. 3 weeks after Valentine's Day, Zoe finally learned his name. She was at a coffee shop near her office when a man in a suit approached her table. Miss Okapo, Mr. Choi would like to speak with you. Her heart stopped. I don't know any Mr. Choi. He knows you. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. He's waiting outside. It won't take long. She could have refused, should have, but that dangerous curiosity pulled her to her feet. The black car waited at the curb. The door opened. She climbed inside. Choi Tae-yoon sat in the back seat like a king on a throne. Perfectly tailored suit. Hair slicked back. Those same dark eyes that haunted her dreams. You've been following me, she said. Protecting you. He didn't apologize. There are people who might think you saw something that night. I made sure they know you're under my protection. I don't want your protection. You don't have a choice. His jaw tightened. You became my responsibility the moment you walked into that hallway. Zoe's hands clenched. I'm not anyone's responsibility. For the first time, something like amusement flickered in his eyes. You're brave, foolish but brave. And you're a criminal. Yes, no denial, no excuse. Does that frighten you? It should have. What do you want from me? The question seemed to catch him off guard. His gaze traveled over her face like he was memorizing every detail. I don't know yet. The honesty in those words terrified her more than any threat could. She tried to go back to her normal life. Work, groceries, weekly video calls with her mother in Atlanta, but normal felt wrong now. Colors seemed brighter, sounds sharper. She caught herself looking for that black car, disappointed when it wasn't there. A month after the coffee shop meeting, she found a package at her door. Inside was a new laptop, top of the line, far better than the one she'd been using. A note read, "I noticed yours was slow. See." She should have returned it. She set it up instead. The next week, her student loans were paid off. All of them. She called the loan company 3 times, thinking it was a mistake. It wasn't. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "You had no right," she said. "I have every right to take care of what's mine." Tae-yoon's voice sent shivers down her spine. "I'm not yours." "Not yet," he hung up. That weekend, Zoe agreed to drinks with her coworker, Marcus, an American teacher who'd been asking her out for weeks. She told herself it was to prove she wasn't affected by Tae-yoon's presence in her life. She told herself Marcus was nice, safe, normal. She didn't tell herself why her heart wasn't in it. They went to a trendy bar in Gangnam. Marcus talked about his podcast, his CrossFit routine, his ex-girlfriend. Zoe smiled and nodded, her mind elsewhere. She excused herself to the restroom. When she returned, Marcus was on the floor, nose bleeding. Tae-yoon stood over him like an avenging angel, knuckles split. "Get up," he told Marcus. "Leave, don't come near her again." Marcus scrambled away. The entire bar had gone silent. Zoe's face burned with humiliation and something else, something hot and dangerous. "Outside," she hissed. "Now." They stood in the alley behind the bar. Zoe's hands shook with fury. "You can't just attack people." "He touched you." Tae-yoon's voice was low, lethal. "His hand was on your waist." "So what? We were on a date." Something dark flashed in his eyes. He stepped closer, backing her against the brick wall. "You don't go on dates." "Excuse me." "Not with other men, not while you're mine." "I'm not." His hand cupped her jaw, cutting off her words. His thumb traced her bottom lip. "Do you know what I've done to men who have touched what belongs to me? Do you know what I'm capable of?" She should have been terrified. She was breathless. "You don't own me." "No," his forehead nearly touched hers. "But I will, because you feel it too, this thing between us. Tell me you don't think about that night. Tell me you don't look for my car. Tell me you sleep soundly and I'll walk away right now." She couldn't. The words died in her throat. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "That's what I thought." The following evening, Zoe found him waiting outside her apartment building. He leaned against his car, hands in his pockets, looking like every dangerous fantasy she'd ever tried to suppress. "Get in," he said. "I want to show you something." "I could call the police." "You could," he opened the passenger door, "but you won't." He was right. She hated that he was right. They drove in silence through Seoul's glittering streets. The city lights reflected off his profile, sharp jawline, straight nose, lips that looked cruel until they softened. She wanted to ask where they were going. She was afraid of what her voice might reveal. He pulled up to a building she recognized, one of the most expensive residential towers in the city. His penthouse, she realized as they stepped into a private elevator. The doors opened to reveal floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture, minimalist art, everything perfect and cold. "Why am I here?" she asked. He poured 2 glasses of wine, handed her one. "Because I need you to understand something." "What?" "I'm not a good man, Zoe. I've done things that would make you run. I've hurt people, killed people. I've built an empire on blood and fear." He set his glass down, turned to face her. "But with you, I want to be different. You make me want to be different." Her heart hammered. "You don't even know me." "I know you're brave enough to stare down a monster. I know you're kind. You volunteer at that community center on Tuesdays. I know you send half your paycheck home to your mother. I know you cry during sad movies and you hate the taste of coffee but drink it anyway." He stepped closer. "I know everything about you, Zoe, and I'm obsessed." The confession should have sent her running. Instead, she set down her glass with trembling hands. "This is insane." "Yes," he closed the distance between them. "Tell me to leave you alone. Tell me you feel nothing. Lie to me and I'll believe it. I'll disappear from your life. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. His hand cupped her cheek. That's what I thought. When his lips met hers, the world caught fire. She gasped against his mouth and he swallowed the sound. His other hand fisted in her hair, angling her head. The kiss was possessive, desperate, like he'd been starving and she was his first taste of sustenance. She should have pushed him away. Her hands pulled him closer. They barely made it to his bedroom. Clothes fell away like burning paper. His hands worshipped every curve, every inch of her skin. He whispered in Korean, words she didn't understand but felt in her soul. You're perfect, he breathed against her neck. Perfect, mine. The world narrowed to his touch, his breath, his body claiming hers with a reverence that made her weep. He was gentle and fierce, controlled and desperate. Every wall she'd built crumbled. When it was over, she lay in his arms, listening to his heartbeat slow. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. She'd never felt safer, never felt more terrified. As his breathing evened into sleep, reality crashed down. What had she done? She'd given herself to a criminal, a man who killed without remorse, a man who'd inserted himself into her life without permission. Fear coiled in her chest. By morning, he'd be done with her. He'd gotten what he wanted. She was just another conquest. Moving carefully, she slipped from the bed, found her clothes, dressed in the darkness. His wallet sat on the dresser. She ignored it. She wasn't a thief. She was just a fool who'd fallen for the wrong man. The elevator doors closed on his sleeping form. Her eyes burned. Tae-yoon woke to an empty bed and cold sheets. For one terrible moment, his heart stopped. He checked every room, called her phone, no answer. She'd run. She'd given him everything and run. His fist slammed into the wall, leaving a crater in the plaster. His men appeared within minutes, summoned by his rage. Find her, he ordered. Now. Sir, perhaps she just needed space. Find her, or I'll find new men. They scattered. Tae-yoon stood at his window, staring out at the city that held her somewhere. She thought this was over. She thought he'd let her go. She had no idea what she'd awakened in him. Zoe called in sick to work. She ignored her phone, ignored the world. Her body still ached in places that made her blush. Her heart ached worse. 3 days later, her door buzzed. She checked the camera, flowers, another delivery. She almost didn't open it. The bouquet was massive. Red roses this time. The card read, "You're not a mistake, you're not a conquest, you're everything, come back. T." Her hands shook. She wanted to believe him. She was terrified to believe him. That night, he was waiting in her apartment when she came home. She gasped, hand flying to her chest. How did you? I own this building. He stood from her couch, eyes red-rimmed like he hadn't slept. Why did you leave? How did you get in? Answer me. Anger flared. You don't get to demand answers. You don't get to break into my home. You're right. His shoulders sagged. You're right, I'm sorry, He ran a hand through his hair. I woke up and you were gone, I thought. That you'd scared me off, that I'd realized what a mistake I'd made. Her voice cracked. You're a criminal, Tae-yoon, you kill people. What kind of future could we possibly have? One where you're safe, cherished, worshipped every day of your life. He crossed to her, cupped her face in his hands. I know what I am, but with you I want to be better, let me prove it. How? Let me court you, properly, dates, flowers, time to know each other without. He glanced at her bedroom. Let me show you I want more than your body, I want your heart, your trust, your future. It was insane, impossible, everything she should refuse. Okay, she whispered. His smile was beautiful, devastating. Okay. Tae-yoon kept his promise. He took her to quiet restaurants where they talked for hours. He showed up at her office with lunch, ignoring the stares. He held her hand during long walks along the Han River, telling her stories about his childhood, the parts that didn't involve blood. My mother wanted me to be a doctor, he said one evening, watching the sunset paint the water gold. She died before she could see what I became instead. Zoe squeezed his hand. She'd be proud that you're trying to change. I'm not changing who I am, he struggled for words, adding something good to the darkness. She understood. She was falling for a man who lived in shadows but wanted to give her light. A week later, Tae-yoon invited her to a charity gala, a legitimate business event where Seoul's elite gathered. Zoe wore a dress he'd sent, emerald green silk that hugged every curve. His eyes had darkened when he saw her. "You're trying to kill me," he murmured, kissing her temple. The gala was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, conversations in Korean, English, Japanese. Tae-yoon kept her close, his hand possessive on her waist. People stared. She heard whispers. "They're talking about us," she said quietly. "Let them," his jaw tightened. "You're with me, that's all that matters." A woman in a white gown approached, beautiful, cold-eyed. She spoke in rapid Korean. Tae-yoon's response was clipped, dismissive. The woman's gaze slid to Zoe with barely concealed contempt before she walked away. "Ex-girlfriend?" Zoe asked. "Business associate, she had other ideas." He pulled Zoe closer. She was wrong. Later, a man approached while Tae-yoon was speaking with investors. European, handsome, his smile was predatory. "You must be the woman everyone's talking about," he said in accented English. "I'm Victor, and you are far too beautiful to be standing alone." "I'm not alone." "He's busy," Victor stepped closer. "Dance with me." "I'd rather not." His hand reached for her waist. "One dance won't hurt." Tae-yoon appeared like a ghost. His hand caught Victor's wrist in a grip that made the man wince. "Touch her again, and I'll break every bone in your hand." The threat was quiet, absolute. Victor paled and retreated. Zoe's heart raced, not from fear, but from the possessive fury in Tae-yoon's eyes. He pulled her onto the dance floor, one hand spanning her waist, the other gripping hers too tightly. "You're angry," she said. "He touched you." "He tried to touch me. There's a difference." His jaw worked. "I don't like other men looking at you, talking to you, breathing near you." "That's insane." "I know." He pulled her closer, their bodies flush. "But I can't help it. You're mine, Zoe. Every part of me knows it." The intensity in his voice made her knees weak. "Tae-yoon. Tell me you feel it too. Tell me I'm not crazy." She looked up at him, this dangerous man who turned her world upside down. "You're crazy, but so am I." His kiss in the middle of the dance floor scandalized half the room. She didn't care. That night, he took her back to his penthouse. This time, there was no hesitation, no fear, just overwhelming need and the certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. He made love to her slowly, reverently, whispering promises in Korean and English. When she fell asleep in his arms, she didn't run. She stayed. The next morning, everything shattered. Zoe woke to shouting. She grabbed Tae-yoon's shirt and rushed into the living room. 3 men in suits stood there, faces grim. They spoke in rapid Korean. Tae-yoon's expression turned to stone. "What's wrong?" she asked. He turned to her, and she saw fear in his eyes for the first time. "Get dressed. Now, don't ask questions." 5 minutes later, she was in his car, surrounded by armed guards. Tae-yoon's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Tell me what's happening." "A rival family found out about you. They think taking you will weaken me." His voice was cold, dead. "They're wrong. It'll just make me destroy them." Terror seized her chest. "Maybe I should leave Seoul, go back to Atlanta." "No," the word was final. "You're not leaving me. I'll keep you safe." "How? By locking me in a cage?" His jaw tightened. "If that's what it takes." The words stung. "I won't live like a prisoner." Better a prisoner than dead. They didn't speak the rest of the drive. He took her to a safe house, a fortress disguised as a modern home, guards everywhere, cameras, panic rooms. Zoe felt the walls closing in. "How long?" she asked. "Until the threat is eliminated." He cupped her face. "I know you're angry, but I can't lose you. I won't." "This is what your life is. Constant danger, constant fear." "Yes," no apology, "but I'll keep you safe, I swear it." She wanted to believe him. What if safe isn't enough? What if I want normal? Something cracked in his expression. Then I'll give you normal. After this is over, I'll step back from the business. I'll be legitimate, whatever you need. You'd do that? I'd burn my entire empire to the ground if it meant keeping you. He kissed her forehead. You're more important than power, than money, than anything. 3 days passed. Zoe felt like she was suffocating. The guards were polite but constant. Tae-yoon came and went, handling business, hunting threats. Each time he left, she wondered if he'd come back. On the 4th day, he didn't return. His second-in-command, Min-yi, appeared instead. His face was carefully blank. There's been an incident. Tae-yoon is handling it. What kind of incident? The kind you don't need to worry about. But she did worry, all night. When Tae-yoon finally returned at dawn, his suit was torn. Blood stained his collar. His knuckles were raw. She ran to him. What happened? It's handled. His voice was hollow. You're safe. You're hurt. I'm fine. She grabbed his hand, examined the damage. Let me clean this. In the bathroom, she tended his wounds in silence. He watched her with an expression she couldn't read. You should leave me, he said quietly. Her hand stilled. What? This life, it's not fair to you. You deserve someone normal, safe, someone who won't come home covered in blood. Anger surged. Don't you dare. Zoe. Don't you dare make this decision for me. She dropped the bandages, faced him fully. You think I don't know what you are? You think I'm some naive girl who doesn't understand? I see you, Tae-yoon, all of you, the darkness and the light, and I choose you anyway. His eyes glistened. Why? Because you're mine too. She pressed her hand over his heart. Because when I'm with you, I feel alive. Because you look at me like I'm your whole world. Because I love you. The confession hung between them. His breath caught. Say it again. I love you. He kissed her like a drowning man finding air, lifted her onto the counter. His hands were everywhere, desperate and reverent. This time when they came together, it was different, deeper, a claiming and a surrender all at once. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Zoe felt the shift. Something had changed, something permanent. Marry me, he whispered into her hair. She pulled back to look at him. What? Marry me, be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, worshiping you, loving you. His hand cupped her face. I know it's fast, I know it's insane, but I've never been more certain of anything. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes. His smile was blinding. Yes. Yes, you insane, possessive, wonderful man. Yes. The next week was chaos. Tae-yoon refused to wait. He wanted her as his wife immediately. They had a small ceremony at a private chapel, just his most trusted men and a video call with her shocked mother. You're marrying a what? Her mother had shrieked. A businessman, Zoe lied smoothly. A very successful one. Tae-yoon had grinned, unrepentant. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. When he slid the ring onto her finger, a flawless diamond that probably cost more than her yearly salary, she felt the weight of forever. I love you, he said, voice rough with emotion. My wife. I love you, she whispered back. My husband. The kiss sealed everything. But peace didn't last. 2 weeks after the wedding, Zoe was grabbed outside a market, a bag over her head, hands dragging her into a van. She fought, screamed, but there were too many of them. When the bag came off, she was in a warehouse. 3 men stood around her. The one in front smiled coldly. Mrs. Choi, your husband has something we want. You're going to help us get it. Terror clawed at her throat, but she lifted her chin. He'll kill you for this. He'll try, the man crouched in front of her. But by the time he finds you, it'll be too late. Tae-yoon stood in his office when the call came. Min-yi's face was ashen. They have her. The world stopped, then it ignited. Tae-yoon's rage was biblical. He made 3 calls. Within an hour, every resource he had was mobilized, every contact, every favor owed. He would raise the city if he had to. Where? He demanded. We're tracking the van, south side, industrial district. Tae-yoon grabbed his gun. Assemble everyone, and tell them no mercy. The assault was surgical. Tae-yoon's men surrounded the warehouse. He went in first, gun drawn, murder in his eyes. The first man who reached for a weapon died before he could aim. The second tried to run. He didn't make it far. Tae-yoon found her in a back room, tied to a chair, defiant despite her fear. Their eyes met. Relief crashed through him so hard his knees nearly buckled. "I've got you," he said, cutting her free. "You're safe, I've got you." She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. He held her like she was his entire world, because she was. The leader of the gang tried to negotiate. Tae-yoon shot him without hesitation. "This is what happens," he told the corpse, "when you touch what's mine." The aftermath was brutal. Tae-yoon eliminated every member of the rival family, every ally, every associate. He made an example that would echo through Seoul's underworld for years. But with Zoe, he was gentle, careful. He held her through nightmares, stayed by her side until the fear faded, made sure she knew she was safe, loved, protected. "I'm sorry," he said one night. "This is my fault." "No," she touched his face. "This is their fault, and they paid for it. I should walk away, make you safe. You are what makes me safe, you not some fantasy of a normal life." She kissed him softly. "I chose you, I choose you every day." 6 months later, Tae-yoon stood in a hospital room, staring at the tiny bundle in his arms. His daughter. His perfect, beautiful daughter with her mother's eyes. Zoe watched from the bed, exhausted and radiant. "She has your nose." "She's perfect," his voice cracked. "You're perfect." He'd stepped back from the violent side of his business, focusing on legitimate enterprises. He still had power, still commanded respect. But now he came home every night. Now his hands built instead of destroyed. Their daughter yawned. Tae-yoon's heart melted. "What should we name her?" Zoe asked. He looked at his wife, this incredible woman who'd seen his darkness and loved him anyway, who'd given him hope, purpose, a future. "Grace," he said, "because that's what you gave me." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "Grace, Choi, it's perfect." He sat beside her on the bed, their daughter between them, his family, his entire world. "I love you," he said. "Both of you, everything I am, everything I have, it's yours." Zoe leaned her head on his shoulder. "We love you too." Outside, the city glittered. Inside, a former monster held his redemption in his arms. Love had conquered darkness. Fear had bowed to courage. And in the space between heartbeats, Choi Tae-yoon understood what he'd been searching for his entire life. Home, he'd finally found home.